Wait, what episode is it? 4.
Yeah.
This is going to be the start of the podcast, isn't it? Hello, welcome to Gamers Watch episode 4. It is episode 4. No, I won't do that. Right, okay. Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of Gamers Watch podcast. I'm your host, Harry. We are here with Shaun, as always.
Hello there.
And we're also joined by Duncan again. Hello, Duncan.
Hello.
Now, there's been a lot of chat about you, Duncan, specifically about the shitting your pants story. But what everybody was asking was to hear your stag story. We will be hearing about that shortly. Now, just to let everybody know, we are on all of the social medias now. So we have got a Facebook page, which is Gamers Watch Podcast on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram under Gamers Watch Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter now at Gamers Watch Cast. So come and join us on Facebook and Twitter. We're quite active on there, so it would be great to get some people in and have some chats with people. So find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram and come and join in. So we will jump into Duncan's Stag. So last week you had 5 stories, Duncan. Can you relay the 5 stories?
Yeah. So last week I told you the story of Mum's the Word and dog date detritus. Obviously today will be bad stag, and we still have gig piss bog roll and past that wanking left.
Which I'm sure we can all agree on. We're all really looking forward to hearing those as well.
Can't wait to tell them.
I know. Well, the good thing is, it's not just you that has embarrassing stories today. We've actually had a letter in. It came in the post. Postman brought it to me. One of our listeners has sent in quite an embarrassing story from his youth. So you're not alone this week, Duncan, all right?
That is a relief.
So today's story is Bad Stag. Is
Stag.
That the one?
Yeah.
Lovely. Do you want to go ahead and let us know
really.
Bad Stag? Is it worse than the other two?
Probably not. It's probably just more embarrassing, I think.
Does it involve fecal matter?
Not as much as you'd think. But there probably was some, not that I'd know.
Okay.
So, oh God, maybe kind of 10 or so years ago, I got invited onto a stag do, and no, I'm not a big drinker. I'm not like, I never drink or go out or anything. I just get to 11 o'clock and I've had enough when I go home. And I've never been on a stag do before this one, probably because I'm just quite unpopular and don't like people very much, so I don't get invited out that much. But went to Bristol, and they did this thing where you had to bring along the little shorts, so like a little bottle of Jack Daniels or some rum or whatever. And if you did anything, and I literally mean anything, you'd have to do like a forfeit. And it was like proper like lads. So if you pointed at someone, you have to do a forfeit, do one of these shots. There was a little clothes peg, and if it ended up on you, you'd have to do one of these things. And it was just bloody carnage, like my actual nightmare. And so we kind of started about 2 in the afternoon. Because I hadn't really been out on like a heavy kind of drinking session before, I didn't eat beforehand. I didn't really never had that problem before.
Eating's cheating, so.
Mm-hmm. So then, yeah, from about kind of 2 o'clock to about 7, I think it was. It was just this awful mix of just having these shots, and it was just a bit of a blur. And then I believe we went to Hooters for some food before the second round, because up to this point it was only pre-drinking, because pre-drinking's cool.
So it was a classy affair then.
Oh, lovely. Really fond memories. So we're in Hooters, and I'm looking around. And have you ever had like an out of body experience where like you're looking at people and you're like, this isn't real. Like I'm not actually here. And I'm kind of looking at everyone, and everyone's in like slow motion, and they're having a lovely time and laughing and joking, and I'm just completely just off my tits at this point. And I look at my mate Rob, and he's ordering foods. So they hand me the menu, and I'm holding it like up to my nose because I just can't read it. Like my eyes are just so blurry. And I thought, oh bollocks, I need to go to the toilet. So I went to the loo, tried to be sick, but because I didn't have any food in my stomach, it was just globules of like pure booze coming out. So if anything, I was going to get a 6-pack out of it, but kind of cleaned myself up, went back out to sit down. Everyone's like, "Yeah, you're right, Dunk. Yeah, fine, yeah, shut up." Went to order some foods, and then I thought, "Oh no, got to go again." Went back to the toilet, but in between this sit down and going to the loo, I, I must have drunk about another 10 pints on the way there because I was so just so pissed. Like I could barely stand up. So I kind of got into the cubicle, but as I sat down, I kind of flopped down with so much force I broke the toilet. Like, and it literally kind of came off of its like bolted down. So I'm literally on the loo. You can't see me, but I'm like rocking and banging into like the side of the cubicle. But then I realised, well, I need to be sick as well. So I'm kind of trying to have a poo, and I'm trying to be sick. So I'm not having to keep stopping around. So brilliantly, I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep my trousers down because I'm going to need to keep doing both. But what I didn't realise is that I didn't actually lock the door. So I'm kind of I'm in this motion of having a poo. Oh no, got to be sick, and I'm just back and forth. And then one of my mates came to see if I was alright, and then loads of people just came in and were like, "Oh, there's Dunk. He's very poorly." So then someone kind of took me back to the hotel room.
Wait, they walked in on you.
Yeah,
with your pants around your ankles, with shit in the toilet, being sick into the toilet bowl.
Yeah, and there was a picture of me with my trousers down, like bent over the loo, like being sick. So then my mate kind of took me back to the hotel, and I went to bed at like 7 or 8, and I felt awful. So then about kind of 3 in the morning, I woke up. And my mate had just come in. He's like, "Come on, we're gonna go get some food." I was like, "Yeah, well, I could do with eating now." Went out, felt awful. He wanted to go to some house party. I was like, "No, thank you. I've had enough." Went back to bed. Then in the morning, I kind of woke up, and if I'm ever in a hotel, I'll make sure to have a bath, like, because I don't like having them at home because of the water bills. But I'll rinse a bath. So I'm kind of running it, and then in hotels you've got like the big bathroom mirror that kind of extends across the whole room. I kind of like look behind me, and I've got all like these names like scrawled into my back in like biro and marker pen. So I kind of woke up my mate, and I was like, "What the fuck is all this? Like, whose names are these?" And he's, "Oh yeah, when you were being sick, all the Hooters waitresses were coming in, and just signing their name on your back and like taking selfies next to your shitty ass." So yeah.
So where was this stag?
Bad stag. It was in Bristol.
So somewhere in Bristol, there is a group
in the staff room.
In the staff room, there's a group of pictures of your shitty anus while you're being sick.
I mean, I don't know if it was that close to see my anus, but because I've got a bit of a bigger bottom, so but probably some brown hairy cheeks. Because it's like when you've got a hairy bum, it all gets caught up.
Oh my god.
So, and I had the worst hangover. I think about 3 days it took me to get over it.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And I don't speak to those guys anymore, because fuck them very much.
You don't speak to any of them?
No, wankers.
So, did you end up going to the wedding?
No. I don't even know if I got invited after that.
That's how good the stag was that you didn't go to the wedding.
And then I remember the next day we were all for some reason no one wanted to go home when all I wanted to do was just go and die. And then I think we ended up staying and watching a Charity Shield between Man United and Man City. And then the two guys.
Was that game?
Yeah. Oh, well, congratulations! I was dying in Bristol. And then they were like, "Oh, do you want to go to IKEA?" Oh, no, I don't want to go to fucking IKEA. I want to go to beds, idiots.
Why did they want to go to IKEA?
Who the fuck knows? I mean, it is near Bristol, so you just go to Cribbs Causeway or whatever. But last thing I want to do is walk around a warehouse.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah, bad stag.
Well, there we go, guys. For all the listeners, and there were at least 4 listeners last week who wanted to hear about bad stag. There we go.
Yeah.
And
that's bad
if
stag.
Any of them live in Bristol, can they go check to see if the photo's up in the staff room there?
Yeah, if any of the listeners, the Venn diagram of Hooters waiters Hooters waitresses and listeners of the Gamers Watch podcast, it's basically just two circles on the other side of the world from each other. But if there is a crossover, please can we get those pictures?
I'm pretty
It's
sure
worth a
that
try.
Bristol Hooters is shut down after a quick Google search. And I like to think that the state of the toilet I left it in has something to do with that.
They got shut down for hygiene reasons.
Yeah.
There's just an eviction notice on the front, and it just says for shitty toilets.
Citywide incident that I left in there.
With
the
just
picture.
your picture. Yeah, with all the signatures. It wasn't actually a signature, mate. What it actually was is it was them signing the rights away to the building.
So, yes,
Christ.
I'm now the owner of Hooters Bristol.
Yeah. Just specifically your hairy ass is the owner of Hooters in Bristol. Christ, that's amazing. Well,
never did eat that burger though. So don't even know if it was nice.
That lives up to the expectations I had of Bad Stag. I like that.
I didn't.
No, me and Shaun, I think we enjoyed that, and the 4 listeners that we get every week, I think they enjoyed that too. So
Hope so.
thank you.
That's all right.
Now Shaun's got a tale as well to tell this week, because he didn't really have one last week.
I had it last week and I forgot.
Yeah, we were supposed to bring this up last week. So Shaun, take it away.
This is the story of the tart, and it was at my parents' house, and it was a sort of like a family and friends games night, I guess. Because
just to give a bit of a preface to this is that myself and he may listen. We have got one Canadian listener, someone called Ryan, and myself used to go to Shaun's quite a lot to do the old podcast, to do a bit of games designing, and just to like fuck about and watch NFL basically. So we were always over there all the time. So me and Ryan, we know all of Shaun's family. So when Shaun's family are all there, generally me and Ryan would be there as well.
You'd be there more than my family.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, we're playing a game. Can't remember what the game's called.
It's Pictionary.
The basics of it. It wasn't Pictionary.
Oh, was it not?
But the basics of it was you have a word that you need to get the other person to say, but you've got a list of words that you can't say to describe it, sort of thing.
So if the word was car, you wouldn't be able to say Ford or wheels,
driving,
or driving.
Steering.
Yeah.
And you basically have like a set time to get them to say the word to get the point. And me and Harry were a team.
The dream team. The gruesome twosome.
Yep. And Harry had to get me to say the word tart.
No, actually, I didn't. Ryan had to get you to say the word tart, and he was crap.
Was it?
Yeah.
Were we all in a team?
It was
I thought
me,
it was like in pairs.
you, and Ryan were in a team because everybody else had paired up, and we were the odd 3. So, Shaun, do you want to just tell us all the people that were at this family gathering?
Oh man, there was me, my parents, one of my cousins, and then there was, I think my nan was there,
and your sister,
and then maybe like, oh yeah, my sister,
and her
maybe
boyfriend,
like an uncle,
and yeah, your uncle was there as well.
Yeah.
So there's 8 members of Shaun's family, and me and Ryan. So there's 10 of us there. Now, Shaun has a cousin who wears
not the one that was with us.
Not the one that was with us, but he has another cousin. She wears an awful lot of makeup, and she was always on like nights out, and she was always out getting bladdered at nightclubs and stuff. And that's just a totally random piece of information that I'm just putting out there that may or may not have relevance to the rest of Shaun's story.
Possibly. But anyway, yeah, so Ryan had to try and get me to say the word tart. And I think I'm guessing he was going down some like pudding route with it.
He was,
because
yeah.
I can't remember him describing it to me. But then Harry just says, "Oh, Shaun, your cousin's one." So I instantly, my mind went on the right track and thought of the right cousin, and I started saying the most random words apart from the word
you
tart,
didn't.
and then
No, what you said was you shouted out in front of your entire family, slut, slag, whore.
And then I said her
Oh,
name
dear.
as well.
And then you said,
So it wasn't
Her
even
name.
It wasn't even discreet. But,
and then
but like most of the family laughed because they all like knew it. But in the corner of my eye, I could just see the most evil glare coming from my nan, and she was sat like directly opposite me. So I just went like bright red. I guessed it right in the end. Said
you
tart.
guessed it right.
So I got the point.
But the funniest
But
thing is that
after I said tart, my other cousin that was sat next to me, I tried to play it off on her. I was like, "So you're a bit of a tart, aren't you?" And she just turned to me and went, "No." Left me completely in the cold.
you
So I
tried
just
to
sat
like
there having to look at the floor to avoid the glares coming from some of my family.
You tried
while
to
Harry's
play
just
it
pissing
off.
himself laughing.
you tried to play it off like, come on, you know, I call you all tarts, don't I? And she just looked you dead in the eyes. Dead in the eyes and just went,
We're all
no.
tarts here if you think about it.
And she was just like, no, you've
Did you
never
then-
called me a tart.
Did you then try and normalise it by calling everyone a tart, as if it's like no big deal? Like, you're right, Nan,
Yeah.
you tart, see you later.
Yeah,
Right,
he
Mum,
did.
you tart.
He did. Oh, it was
It
so
was
funny.
so awkward.
If Alan Partridge did that, you wouldn't think it was out of place. It was so funny. His entire family, all of them there, and his nan just staring at us like she wanted to murder us.
The thing was though, half the family found it funny because they like sort of agreed and knew about it, like knew the joke. But then the other half really didn't appreciate it at all. So I was stuck
No,
between
your mum and dad
sort of
didn't
laughing
find it funny
along.
at all.
laughing along or just sort of sulking away into the corner in embarrassment.
What it sort of reminded me of is the way that you were having to act was like Gollum when he talks to himself. So you were having to like turn to your mum and dad and your nan and be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like Harry shouldn't have said that. I'm really, really sorry." And then you're turning to the rest of us like, "Fuck me, that was funny, wasn't it? Christ!" But
That was a
then
great clue.
oh, it was
Got the
so
point.
yeah. To be fair, we got the point still. So what's the problem? We got there in the end.
I think the problem was I sort of betrayed half my family.
Yeah, the problem was you called your cousin a slut and a whore.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, it was so funny.
Why did I have to say those words as well?
And you shouted them as if
I did. It was because the timer was going down.
this family-friendly guessing game would have slut, whore, prostitute. As if any of those three would have actually been the answer.
Have you made up with your family now? Or is it all been a bit awkward since?
No, it was fine. It was just the probably like half an hour or so of that glare. That's
But the thing is, it
ingrained in
wasn't
my mind.
just you that was getting it, because I was getting it as well, because obviously I had insulted your entire family as a guest in their house. So
yeah,
it didn't
but the
go
way
down
we were
very
all
well.
sat out, it was like a horseshoe with me at the end sort of thing. So everyone was like in a semicircle just facing me, and Harry was just sort of sat back in the sofa laughing his ass off because he knew I couldn't do anything.
God, it was funny. So
It was-
yeah, that's Shaun's tart story, and we do have another story, but we will tell it a bit later. Gary, who is a friend of the show, he did pass on a story for me to tell. I've got two, and I think I'm going to tell a different one than the one he's asked me to say, because I'll save that one for another time. But
So he's politely asked you to say one, and you're just going to go ahead and tell the other.
no, he's told me one, and I've reminded him of another, and I've made the decision to go with the one that I want to go with.
Okay.
As any good host does, he ignores his audience and does whatever he wants to.
Host and friend, my I
Yeah,
add.
host and friend. And so as a host and as a friend, I'm completely ignoring him and doing whatever I want to do. So,
Cool.
yeah, just to get that out there. So if anyone else wants to write in any stories to us, just know that if I don't like it, I might not say it anyway. So, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. So
Subscribe.
we'll move on. We'll move on to this week's Game Pass or Play. We've also got a new segment that Duncan is going to host, and it's called "We Make Duncan Play Some Indie Games to See What He Thinks of Them." It's a catchy title.
Yeah.
We're going to get a theme song made for it. We're going to get Shaun, you're on graphics. You've got to make a segment slot now for We Make Duncan play some indie games to see what he thinks of them. Emil Heskey's already said he'll do the lyrics to it, so that's good.
Oh, I get to write a little jingle, sort of thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an 80s intro.
We'll go full on with it. So, give it another, 2 years, and we'll have a jingle for you, Duncan, all right?
Half of it.
Half of a jingle.
Can't wait.
Maybe in 2 years. So this week, Shaun, what were you playing?
I was playing Carrion.
Which we're calling the Anti-Spirit Farer. And
Yeah, it is very much is.
And I played Dragon Quest XI. So I'll start with Dragon Quest XI quickly. Shaun, how many hours did you? I did. I've still got it. I've still got it installed on my Xbox.
You actually played it?
I actually played it, and I'm going to continue to play it.
Jesus Christ!
I know.
This better be a gameplay then.
I know. Shaun, how many hours did you play Carrion for?
Ooh, I think it was about 5 hours. I'd like to say.
Duncan, how many hours do you think you played Wilmot's Warehouse for?
Yeah, a couple of hours, 2 or 3.
Yeah. So my current playtime on Dragon Quest XI is 127 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Got a bit stuck into it then.
No, I'm only actually just past the title screen. Try and work that out. So I'm level 6. I've completed 2% of the game, and I'm 120 odd hours in.
Did you put the controller down at one point and
No.
go about your day?
Well, it turns
and
out
not have like auto shutdown on.
It turns out that quick resume just doesn't work on Dragon Quest. So if you go to play another game, it just keeps it on the background, and so it thinks that I played it non-stop for a week. So from the second that I first turned it on to when I last saved it, it thinks that I've been concurrently playing it for like 130 hours, which is really frustrating.
So how long have you actually like put into it?
Probably about 10 hours.
That's still not bad.
Still not bad. And I'm enjoying it. There's things I don't enjoy about it. The art style is incredible. I think it looks amazing.
The Japanese of it.
Yeah, it looks nice, and I've swapped over to 2D mode as well a few times, and I really like that as well, which is a nice like break from the normal tradition. Because I love the top-down 16-bit sprite look to old JRPGs, so it is quite cool. They've completely remade the game just for 2D mode, which is amazing, because there are certain sections of Dragon Quest XI that are 3D platforming style. So it is quite impressive what they've done with the 2D mode.
So the whole game can be played in 2D or 3D?
Yeah. The whole game. 2D or 3D mode, which is awesome. Yeah, I know. It's cool.
That must have taken ages to do.
Yeah, it's like they've made 2 games, basically. Whether or not it was available in the original version, I'm not sure, because obviously the Game Pass version is 11S, which is the updated version.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like the definitive version.
I don't know if I like it or not. The combat, no, it's a tough one. The combat isn't great. It's got 2 types of combat. It's got freeform combat, or it's got turn-based combat. I've turned turn-based combat on, and I'm really enjoying it. But the freeform combat, you don't choose what attacks you do. You don't choose when to heal. You just set a tactic, and then you can just put your controller down on the floor, and it does the rest for you.
Sort of like an easy difficulty then.
Yeah, but that's the easy difficulty to combat is just the standard combat style, and I just don't like it. You can move around this like little like circular area, but it makes no difference whatsoever on attack or defense, or if you're dodging attacks. I don't really understand why it's even in the game. But basically combat just turns into putting your controller down and then just waiting for everything else to happen. And the world is an open world, but it sort of isn't. So you can go anywhere, but you have to go anywhere while following the story. and the world is so huge that you're only going to see all of it by following a very linear story. I don't have a problem with linear games, but the problem that I have is that it has this false appearance of being a huge open world, but you have to do very specific things, and it shoehorns you into very specific ways of going to different places that it sort of just feels a little bit off. I'm not a big fan of the open world aspect to it. If they did like a Final Fantasy 13 and just purely made it a linear story, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. But it's trying to be an open world game, but hiding a linear game within it, and it's a bit of a mishmash. But I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if I'm going to carry on playing it for much longer. I don't know. It's a tough one. If anyone likes RPGs...
Don't know if you'll get to the end.
I definitely won't get to the end. What I would say is if anybody likes JRPGs, there are better JRPGs on Game Pass than Dragon Quest XI. All of the Final Fantasies from, I think, 7 up to 12 are going to be on Game Pass fairly soon. Final Fantasy 8 is already on there, and to be honest, that's my favourite Final Fantasy. So, is it a good game? Yes. Are there better JRPGs on Game Pass? Yes. It's a tough one. I'm going to give it a game play because I'm having some fun with it, but there are better options, I would say. That's a fair assessment, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, yeah, gameplay? Yeah.
Gameplay question mark.
Yeah, it's a gameplay. Like, I wouldn't say that it's a bad game, so it's definitely not a Game Pass. So, yeah, it's a gameplay-ish. We're going to have like 17 different evaluations
Rankings.
At one point, yeah. But no, give it a go. It might just not tickle my fancy. I prefer being a lot more hands-on with item management and combat strategies. It very much does feel like it's just a story being told in easy mode. Oh, also, the voice acting is crap. The main people in the area that you start in all have this really fake Devonshire accent, and it really, really grates on you after a while. And what I don't like as well is that none of the cutscenes automatically skip to the next part of text, so you have to just keep pressing A constantly. But if you press it twice, it skips that line of the cutscene, and I don't really understand the story at all. But you know, give it a go. Why not?
Great.
They should put that on the box. Why not?
Yeah, they should put that entire diatribe that I've just said on the box. So, Shaun, you played my game of the year, Carrion.
Was that your game of the year?
Yeah, mate, I loved it.
Really?
I've played it through about 5 times. I love it.
I swear you said something else before.
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll have to do a little flashback thing.
No, because that means I've got to do fucking editing. It takes ages.
Yeah, fine, we won't. I'll take your word for it then.
Take my word for it. Carrion is my game of the year for 2020. If it even came out in 2020. Okay. I think it did.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah.
I think it was second half of the year.
So, how did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It is literally the complete opposite to Spiritfarer in every possible way. Like, it's gory and it's fast.
Yeah.
Very, very fast. The way I would describe it is it's a game that finally lets you play with your food after years of your mum telling you not to. That's pretty much how I played it.
Yeah.
So I started off, when I was getting used to it at first, I would just like full on charge in and kill everyone as quickly as possible sort of thing. And then as I progressed, I unlocked like the taunt roar thing you can do, and I would sort of find shadowy areas and then just wait for them and just sort of play around, like ragdoll them around the room, and that it was disturbingly satisfying to kill people in that game.
Everything's crunchy and squelchy, and it's so satisfying when you put like a tendril through someone and you see all their limbs just like explode off in every direction.
I really love it. It's if you kind of come up a room with loads of like armed guards or whatever, and rather than just kind of charging in, you almost have to like think about kind of like the angle you come in, but then you'll wipe out the room in about 3 seconds, and it's just so satisfying. Like when you're like, oh, they're all dead now, and then you just pick up a body and just wang him around a little bit just to play with him after you've murdered him.
One of the things that I would always do is I would kill everybody in the room, but then I would also make sure that once they were all dead, I had eaten all of them and smashed them all to pieces as much as I possibly could. And I know that's really sadistic, but I really enjoyed it.
It brings the best out of your worst side, this game.
Yes. They should put that on the box.
It brings the best out of your worst side.
Yes.
If I had to be nitpicky, I found sometimes it was too fast for its own good, though.
Yeah.
So, like, I would plan out something. I'll be like, oh, I'll go under there, grab him, and then sneak back into the shadows, have a little munch, and then grab this other person. And I'll go to do it, but because I'm moving so fast, I move basically past the enemy that I was going to grab, or, like, my tentacle thing goes past him. So then he just shoots me to bits. I'm like, oh, well, that's blown. I'll just run around in circles until I pick people off then.
There is a learning curve with how you control the monster. By the end of the game, it is very second nature, but there's a period in the middle, and I'm saying the middle of the game like it's 20 hours long. There's a bit about 2 hours in where you've got all of these new abilities, but you haven't quite been able to use all of them, so you have to backtrack quite a lot to get used to the abilities you've got. So it could have been a bit better in that sense. But
yeah, that's kind of two of the points I've written down in my notes here as well. Is that it doesn't tell you as well. There's 3 different sizes you can be, like health wise. It doesn't tell you, as far as I know, unless I missed it, that your abilities are tied to a certain size. So like I unlocked one ability, which was the web shooting thing, which is for when you're at your smallest. Then when you're the next size up, on the same button, it's, I believe, a charge like attack. And I unlocked the charge attack, but then I went down to small size and I was spamming this button. It was just shooting webs everywhere. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I quite like.
But it's not doing.
I quite like that you have to work it out for yourself, because you are this freshly sentient gloop of tentacles. It's probably just learning how to tear everyone to bits. So I quite like that you kind of have to learn as the monster learns, if that makes sense.
I would mirror that as well. It does feel like you're Frankenstein's monster learning how to walk. You're having to learn about the creature that you are. Because one of the things that I love about the game is it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what the creature is or where it's from. You find that out later on in the game, but you just start as this amorphous blob, and then you just wreck shit. You just...
Quite literally.
Yeah, you just wreck everything around you, and then eventually you're like, oh, I can wreck things but in a controlled way, and then you get used to that, and then you get these new abilities, and it's like, oh, I can wreck shit again. So whenever you think you've got the handle of all the abilities, you then get different abilities to just fuck about with, and then you get a handle on those, and once you've got a handle on those, then you've got your third sort of size, and then you've got to again like learn how to be this creature again. But it's just so fun.
It's fun being very violent in it, and the as well as throwing humans around. In the second half, when those like drones start coming in, grabbing them and absolutely twatting them against the walls is so satisfying. Especially because I found them quite annoying at times as well. They would just sort of shoot me when I didn't think they'd see me.
Yeah,
so getting a hold of them and
they are
whacking them against bits of metal and rock, it's good.
I really love like the ending, not really the ending sequence, but when you achieve like a critical mass and the whole base is just going a bit mental, and you're just absolutely tearing through everything. Like you don't have any peril towards you. You're just free just to be an absolute bastard monster. And I really kind of got a bit of. Did you ever play that game Inside by the guys that did Limbo?
No, I didn't.
No, I really wanted to play it, but
I
never
don't
got
want to
around
say
to
it and
it.
give it away, but I got kind of vibes of that. I can't really say it without giving away the ending. But that's it. If you find that on the cheap playing sides, very different game in terms of pacing, but I feel like the story is kind of similar.
Cool.
On that.
Well, that goes quite well into you being our indie game specialist, because we can now go through our new segment, which
is it Game Pass or Play for Carrie?
Oh, yeah.
It's 100% a gameplay.
Yay!
That was me applauding then. I might download some applause noise to get over the top of that.
Can it be the sound effect in Viva Pinata when one of them breaks open?
No, because that will be copyrighted. So we'll move on to our new weekly segment of We Make Duncan play some indie games to see what he thinks of them. And what did you play this week?
So I played Wilmot's Warehouse, which I've got to be honest, if I wasn't told to play it, I probably wouldn't have done. But I'm glad I did. It's literally a game about working in a warehouse, funnily enough. But I didn't get that at first. So when you kind of see the screenshots on Game Pass, I thought it was like a match 3 Candy Crush kind of looking thing.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea what it was.
I went into it completely blind, and but kind of very, very quickly, I got very into it. So the whole idea is you are Wilmot, and you are a little box man. It reminded me quite a lot of the adventure game back on the old Atari 2600s, where you're just a block walking around. So yeah, you work in a warehouse and you get requests of goods to deliver, and you have to take what the guys want to the delivery slot. I mean, it's such a simple premise. So you basically have this massive area, and then you get a delivery come in at the beginning of the round. I think you get about 2 minutes to organise the stock. So you'll have like yellow boxes with an umbrella on it, or a blue box with a boomerang on it, and you have to kind of quickly organise that into your warehouse. So then when you get told, okay, well I want 2 of these bananas, 1 of this boomerang, and 2 of these pineapples, you know where to go. But when I first played it, I was like, well, I literally put the things down anywhere, and then you get 2 minutes to go and pick the stuff up, and you get a rating, and you unlock stars to make it so you can carry more boxes. It's so simple, but then I had to start the game again, because very quickly I was like, well, I've organised my warehouse very badly, so I'm going to be crap at then kind of delivering the goods. And I was getting horrible flashbacks of working back in John Lewis back when I was 17 when I was playing this. So started it again, but then you almost take a lot of pride in how you've organised it. So my top left corner of the warehouse is all like the yellow stuff, and then anything below that was orange and red, and then it was blues and purples on the right hand side. So really quickly you can, okay, well I need to get 4 of these things, 2 of them, you know exactly where to go, and then you block them off, and that's it. And then about after 3 rounds you get a chance to reorganise your warehouse, because all the while you're having new deliveries of stock. It's so simple, but it's really, really satisfying, and I absolutely wouldn't have touched it, because on the looks of it, not my kind of game at all. But I would definitely I'd definitely recommend it as a quick little chilled out. I guess it's a puzzle game. It's a game about organising. I don't really know how to put it in a genre.
Well, as you've been explaining it, I've been downloading it, and I've just had a notification that it's downloaded onto my Xbox.
Very small. I imagine it'd be really good to play on the clouds, on your phone, if you've got like 10 minutes in lunch break or whatever. But I would give it.
Did it use all of the processing power of your next gen console?
I would have thought so. considering the thing keeps restarting itself and not loading games. They're struggling. But I'd give it a loading dock out of 10. Give it a go.
There we go.
Yeah.
And as we all know, that's a good rating. So
Yeah.
A loading
Can't get
dock.
better than a loading dock.
A loading dock out of 10. So we're going to pick a few new games. Now, Duncan, as you're the indie man, I'm thinking rather than us give you an indie game, it's probably easier for you to just have a look on Game Pass, and then it'll be a surprise for everybody listening next week.
All right.
To know what game you're playing. So I've already got a game for Shaun. Shaun, have you got a game for me?
I've picked one out, yeah.
Okay, so the game that I want you to play, Shaun, and it is a game that I've been playing this week, it's called West of Dead. Have you heard of it? Have you got any idea what it is?
I'm going to guess it's Western. For the
yes, it is.
West
it is a
of
Western.
Dead.
So
Zombie Western?
Sort of.
Or just overly violent Western?
It's a roguelike. It's a cover.
Okay.
It's a cover-based tactical roguelike, and that's all I'm going to say. The art style is very reminiscent of 13. Do you remember that game back on the PS2?
Oh, the comic book game.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of that, and it takes lighting is a big mechanic of this game. So taking cover and using lighting will help you out. So that's the game for you to play.
Right. I'll bear that light hint in mind as well.
What game am I playing?
You are playing Bear in Mind as long as you haven't played it before, because apparently every week the first two games that you've at least played is called Sea of Solitude.
I have not played Sea of Solitude.
Awesome. You're playing it this week then.
Okay. Have you got any idea what it's about? Or
is that the EA?
It's
EA one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that.
Yeah,
it looks like Journey.
I think it's very atmospheric from what I can gather. But it was one when it got announced. Was it last year or year before? I think. I did want to play it and then just sort of completely forgot about it, and now just seen that it's on Game Pass. So.
Well, it's downloading as we speak.
I think you'll enjoy it. I went through it over the summer. It's very big on mental health. So and it's only about kind of 5 hours long as well. Very good.
Lovely. Well, Sea of Solitude, I'm going to give it a go. There we go. So, Shaun, you'll be playing West of Dead. I'll be playing Sea of Solitude, and find out on the next episode what Duncan has been playing. And we'll move on to fan mail. So, Gary has had, this is his third shout out in the podcast. The last one was that he...
now.
Well, the last one was that he doesn't like Halo. So that is the Gary. He can be our mascot. We'll make like a little doodle of him, and he'll be the Gamers Watch podcast mascot. Now I've got two stories. I've got a story involving vodka and a Porsche, and I've got a story involving a rock and a bonfire. Now, Gary, I know that you asked me to do the vodka story, but I absolutely love the story with the rock and the bonfire. So we will save the vodka story. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do a call-in one day, and we'll get Gary to tell the story himself. That's what we'll do.
We'll link him live.
We'll link him live. So that's what we'll do for the vodka story, because he doesn't remember a lot of it, and I want to see how much of it he remembers, while I'm also filling in a few of the blanks for him. And I don't think he remembers a lot of the chunk out of the head story either. So, one thing to know about my group of friends is they are the year older than me at school. So Shaun was in my year at school, but a lot of my mates were the year above me. So when they were 18, I was 16. So they would all go out and get pissed, and I would have to stay at home and play Xbox and talk to Shaun.
Oh, I see what I was here for now.
Now,
Thanks.
Before they were 18, we would occasionally drink the odd alcoholic beverage. We were known to do that sometimes. And one of our sort of local haunts that we used to go to, it was a place called the Imperial. So there's this big hotel, and just to the left-hand side of this hotel, you can walk down this cliff, and there's this like flat open area, and there used to be like a Victorian sunbathing spot. So it's literally just this huge square area of stone with steps that go down to the sea. So we used to, in the summer, we used to go down there, we used to have bonfires, make food and stuff, and have a few drinks. Now, one of the things that we also used to have to do quite a lot is run away from the security from the Imperial Hotel, because they didn't like us getting pissed on their property, basically. So one day, there's about 8 or 9 of us, and we're all on the beach, and we've made this huge bonfire. Around the bonfire, we've got these massive fucking rocks. They're huge. They're probably, I don't know, a good stone or 2 in weight each. So they're big bastarding rocks. And there's probably about 10 of them around it. So we see the flashlights from the security guards, and we think, right, shit. We throw sand over the bonfire, quickly hide away, wait for the security people to go away, and then we come back. Being 15, 16-year-old testosterone-filled boys, what do you do when there's big rocks next to the beach? You throw the rocks in the water. It's what you always do. So Gary goes to lean down to pick up one of these big rocks, and as he does, our other friend Matt picks one of these huge giant rocks up and clunks him right in the side of the head, and takes a chunk probably about an inch wide and probably half an inch deep out of the side of his head. It is pissing with blood, and Gary obviously goes quite faint and lies down on the floor. Now that's not funny. In and of itself, that isn't very funny. What happens next is quite funny. So we lie Gary down, and there's a few people there that have like first aid training, or they know how to like look after someone. Matt is not one of those people. So we lie him down, and we get him some water to drink, and we put him on his side so that we've got his legs up so that the blood's rushing to his head. And as that's happening, Matt's also trying to determine if he's like unconscious or if he knows where he is, or in the movies someone gets clunked over the head with a rock and they can't remember who they are, and then they end up living on a boat with kids that aren't theirs because they've got amnesia,
or they become Jason Bourne.
Yeah, so Matt's obviously watched a few too many films, because he starts going up to Gary saying, "Who am I? What's my name? Who's that?" And like pointing at different people, like, "Who's she?" And before Gary can answer, he's like, "Who's he?" So Gary's like, "That's Harry." But by that point, he's pointing at Lauren, and Matt's like, no, that's Lauren. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's like shoving his fingers like in his face, like, "How many fingers have I got up? Tell me how many fingers." And Gary's like, 3 fingers. And he's like, "No, I've got 2 fingers and a thumb." And it's just like, it's ridiculous. And Matt is just full on in panic mode. Gary was on the floor for about 5-10 minutes before any of us thought, oh, maybe we should call an ambulance. So we're all surrounding him, waiting for the ambulance to arrive. And then Matt does the dumbest thing ever. Matt calls his own mum and says, "Oh, Mum, just to let you know, I'm drinking down on a beach and I might have killed Gary." That's what he says to his mum. "Sorry to call you, I know it's a bit of bad timing, but I think I might have killed Gary. So can you come and pick me up, please?" So then Matt's mum calls Gary's mum, who calls my mum, who calls everybody else's mums. And then we all have to explain to our mums why Gary is lay in a pool of his own blood on a beach, why we're all pissed, and why Matt's running around asking him how many fingers he's got shoved up. And that's the story of how Gary nearly died on a beach.
Is Gary okay now?
So did you ever call the ambulance?
Yeah, he was fine. He had a bit of concussion. He was all right. Not a problem at all. We were all we all knew that Gary was fine. The one person that didn't know that Gary was fine was Matt, who went into full-on panic mode And yeah, he was just like shoving his fingers in his face, grabbing people and like, tell me who this is, who's this? And Gary's like, I'm bleeding quite heavily. Can you leave me alone, please? Oh, mate, it was amazing. And then he started pouring vodka on the wound to try and disinfect it. But because he's lay on a beach, all he actually did was clump up the sand that was in the wound. Yeah. So, Gary, if you're listening, glad you're still here, mate. It was touch and go.
And
but
can you remember any of that?
He can remember most of it. But he had to go to hospital. He had stitches in his head. He still got the scar on his head. But yeah, that was what we used to do on the weekends. Take chunks out of each other's heads.
Man, I used to just sit home and play games.
Yeah, I know. Wasn't very good. But I can't believe Matt called his fucking mum. We were all like, Matt, don't call your mum. Please don't call your mum. He's like, oh, it's too late. I'm already calling her. Why would you do that? So yeah, we didn't get to go out very much after that, which is quite a shame.
Which coincidentally is when you were a lot more active online.
Yeah, which was when I started talking to you a bit more. Weird.
Fine, and that's when I got an alcohol problem.
What, when I started being your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the common denominator?
Yeah, come to think of it,
all
mate,
that?
I started drinking quite heavily around about 2016. About just
Oh,
after
really?
we started becoming good mates.
Ah.
Yeah, I was straight edge before I met Harry.
Shaun barely used to drink Ribena. That was too strong for him back in the day.
That was the hard stuff for me. Ribena.
So yeah, thank you, Gary, for the fan mail. We will talk about your vodka Porsche story another time, but I want you to be the one to tell it. So when the world is no longer ending and we can get everybody together, Gary will tell the story himself. How does that sound?
Sound good?
There we go. So that, I think we can move quite swiftly on then. We'll talk about a few sequels that never were. I'm going to say my first one, Bully. I don't know if everybody else played Bully at all.
Played it briefly, yeah.
Oh, I fucking
I never
love
completed
Bully.
it.
Oh, I absolutely love Bully. And it was perfect for a sequel because you could have had university or college, you know, as it is in America. They absolutely could have expanded that further. What I love about Bully, and it's what I love about quite a lot of the old Rockstar games, is that they were made specifically just to test something that was going to be put in a later game. So Rockstar Table Tennis, they literally made one of the best sports simulation games of all time purely just as a physics test. They did exactly the same with LA Noire and the facial capturing that then crossed over into GTA 5. And they did the same with Bully, is they created a lot of the infrastructure for Bully that was then going to be passed on to a lot of the DLC for GTA 4. I absolutely love Bully. Duncan, how much of Bully did you play or did you complete it?
I never completed it. It's one of those where I started it multiple times, played a few hours each time. Yeah. But it had that really nice chunky feeling to it. I don't know if that makes sense. It reminded me a lot of the Warriors that Rockstar did.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, that same kind of real chunky feel to it. Such a weird way of describing it. But yeah, imagine if they did something like it now, like in a university, but obviously they've got like the Red Dead engine. It'd be amazing. Yeah. It's so good.
And again, Rockstar just smashing it with worlds that they build. Because every character in that game felt like they were there for a reason. So you've got the teachers that all had their unique personalities. Basically, the way that I would explain it is it's like one of the Harry Potter games from the PS1, PS2 era, but made by Rockstar. So there were potions classes, there was Quidditch class, but it was American football and wrestling. It was just bonkers fun. And it did actually tell quite a good story. I know there was a lot of backlash when it first released because people thought that you were playing the character of a bully. But actually the character in the game isn't a bully. He is quite a complicated person who comes from a pretty shitty background. He's the underdog of the story. And so I absolutely love Bully. And it is a shame. I know that there were talks of a sequel that never ever happened. But I absolutely fucking love that game. And again, with Rockstar, they just absolutely smashed it with the world that they built and the characters that were in that story. So Shaun, if you've not played much of it, I'm pretty sure it is on Game Pass.
Ooh, I'm going to have a
think.
quick look at that now.
I'll have a look. Which
It
of the
is,
games
I'll
on
download it.
the list were there that you saw, Shaun?
I kind of want to say Bloodborne just because you hate it and I love it. But I'm going to have to go with Simpsons Hit and Run just purely because Simpsons is one of my favourite things of all time ever. And there hasn't been a good Simpsons game for quite a few years now. Since Hit and Run.
You've got quite an amazing Simpsons party trick, have you not, Shaun?
A party trick. I wouldn't use it as a party because I'll probably just get called a nerd and thrown out.
So,
Yeah,
Duncan,
I
do you know roughly how many episodes of The Simpsons there are?
Just like 30 seasons in there.
There's quite a lot.
My Mrs. Georgia loves it, and she gets pissed off at me because I've never really been interested in it. So she'll quote it, and I'm like, yeah, that's nice, dear. But then she's like, no, it's the fucking Simpsons, watch it, you twat. I'm like, oh, right, okay. Well,
that sounds like my
too
place.
fucking much.
There's 639 episodes of The Simpsons. And Shaun, if you show him a screenshot of any of those episodes, he will know exactly the episode it's from.
George is exactly the same.
And I've tested him multiple times.
It's great. It's because I used to have, well, I still have them, but obviously I just use Disney Plus now to watch it. But all the like box sets that would release each year of the seasons, and would literally just watch them on repeat. Have them on all day.
You know, it's not a very controversial opinion to say that the new Simpsons isn't very good. But I tell you what, I watched the episode with steamed hams the other day, and that steamed ham scene with Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers is fucking hilarious every single time. It is so funny.
I saw a thing where like someone played a piano to it, and it's like the perfect like arrangement. There's something about that steamed ham scene where it is, I think, scientifically the perfect comedy. I'll try and dig it out, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I've seen videos where people have voice acted the entire scene, but every single line of dialogue they reanimate it and then revoice it. So it starts as the normal Simpsons, and then it's Family Guy to American Dad to anime to Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh! And every line that they say is drawn by a different artist and voiced by a different person, and it's still hilarious. It is so funny. And just as he's walking away, and you can just hear Skinner's mum screaming in the fire as he just awkwardly smiles. It is so funny. So were you not a fan of the Simpsons game that launched on the PS3 era?
I did like it. It just wasn't as good as Hit and Run.
No. Hit and Run was fantastic.
Hit and Run is peak. And I loved Road Rage, even though it was a complete rip-off of... oh, bugger, what's the game called? Is it Taxi? Or is that... That's a film,
Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi, that's the one. It's a complete rip-off of that.
I never played Road Rage. Never played it.
It was fun. I was just like hearing all the different character interactions and voice lines and that.
Do you know the first Simpsons game that I ever played? It was Simpsons Wrestling on the PS1.
Hey. See, I loved that game as well, and it got a load of slack. It was clunky, I must admit, but...
I remember I would always play as the Bumblebee Man. Always.
I always used to get pissed off because Ned, Kang, and Kodos would always beat me no matter what.
Bastards. I don't know. Oh, Kang is the aliens, aren't they?
Yeah. And Ned was just a Bible-thumping prick. Because he always had this Hand of God move that would just... Literally just the Hand of God would come down and jab you in the face.
Stupid,
that's
sexy
You'd be out for the count.
Stupid, sexy Flanders. Duncan, what's one of the games that you wished had a sequel?
There was a game back on like the Xbox, PS2 and GameCube called Freedom Fighters. I don't know if you guys have played it. It was you basically play this plumber in America that's been overtaken by Russia or the USSR. I can't remember what time it's kind of based in. But you effectively have to go around the city, do little things like kind of like building little barricades and stuff, and just recruiting kind of random people off the street to kind of help you in the fight. I can't remember exactly kind of like how it went, and I'm pretty sure that it was too hard for me then to complete it. But I mean, I think it's got quite a big following. It's a little third person thing. The Division in New York, the first one, reminded me a little bit of it, but the Division one was shit. So yeah, that's my one. I'll have another one.
Well, I can't say I've ever played that.
No, it's a bit of one of those like cult following games where it wasn't particularly popular, and also because I mentioned the other day, Blast Corps on the N64, the greatest console ever made. Fight me, where you just get in like a dump truck and drive over shit, and that is it. I think we could do with that kind of game right now. Just a bit of demolition.
Now, another game I've just remembered on this list, and I know that I've recently started playing it again because it's on Game Pass, is Brutal Legend. I fucking love Brutal Legend.
Yeah.
So good. Jack Black in that game is so good. The story is great. They've got fucking Ozzy Osbourne and they've got Lemmy. Like, how did they manage it?
It holds up really well.
It's so good. I mean,
brilliantly.
The world isn't exactly full of stuff to do, but it still plays well and it handles really well and the controls are tight. It's a bit, there's a few repetitive quests to do, but man, it's good.
I remember getting really confused when it turned into an RTS all of a sudden. That threw me a little bit. Yeah, that's brilliant.
But I absolutely love Brutal Legend. I think the problem with making a second one would just be the cost of licensing the soundtrack.
I don't know. Probably they'd be able to afford it.
Who actually made Brutal Legend?
I think it was Double
Fine. Yeah, it's
Fine,
Double
wasn't
Fine.
it?
Yeah,
I get a very Double Fine-y feel from just looking at the like art style.
So if they can bring a Brutal Legend 2 back, that'd be great.
And hey, Jack Black streams games now, doesn't he? So
he does, Jablinski Games.
He'd be more than up for it.
If it wasn't Jack Black, though, who would it be?
It would have to be Jack Black. Or Carl. Carl Gass, just the other one.
Yeah.
And then you combine them.
They meet halfway through the game.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of Brutal Legend. And I think the fact that there's so many Xbox 360 games playable through Game Pass, because I never played Brutal Legend originally. I only played it probably about 5 years ago for the first time. And then to be playing it again on the Series X with no loading times whatsoever, because that SSD is incredible. And talking of Game Pass, we've got some new games coming through to Game Pass soon as well, haven't we, Shaun?
We do indeed. In fact, what is the date today? I think half of them will be up
10th.
by the time.
It's the 10th today.
Yeah, half of them will be up, but possibly all of them. Depends when we actually get this episode aired.
So should we go through them?
Yeah, so we've got... Let's have a look. Console, there's PES 21 season update, which I think... Have they stopped doing yearly releases for PES now?
They have. They just do roster updates now.
there was a
That's pretty cool.
very tiny mechanical improvement on PES 21, but I think it was only like 25 quid. So still kind of a chunk of change to buy it, but better than paying 50 quid for the same FIFA game every year. And it's good.
For Ultimate Team with a different squad, yeah. I think that's a good business model that they've got going forward.
Yeah, it could work. I mean, they've, obviously PES is nowhere near as competitive as it used to be with FIFA.
I'd still prefer it. I still prefer playing PES.
I remember back in the secondary school days where it was literally, you could, either year could be, like, you could get either game depending on which way it went.
Pro Evolution Soccer 3 is still the best football game ever made.
Yeah, the old PS2 ones were so good.
Yeah, PES 3 was absolutely the best. Master League was like nothing else. It was so good.
I did used to love Master League, I must admit, when I used to get the PES games.
Absolute genius. What an idea. So good. So we've got PES 21 roster update. What else have we got?
We got The Little Acre, which I've never heard of, I must admit.
The Little Acre? No, not aware of that.
Gonna have to do some digging into that one, I think, in the next few days. There's also Torchlight 3, which I really want to play because I love Torchlight 1 and 2, and I was actually close to buying Torchlight 3. So
lucky you didn't then.
Now I don't have to.
There we go.
Now I can just play it for free. Or for, well, for a set price a month. And then, this one's console and PC, is Injustice 2, which again, I really wanted to play because I loved the first one.
Yeah, that's a good game to come to Game Pass.
Injustice 2 or Torchlight 3?
Injustice 2. That's a good game. That's a proper Game Pass title, that is.
Oh, pick Torchlight 3.
No, I never played the first two, so that could be next week.
Injustice was good. So Injustice 2 I look forward to trying.
We've got some PC games.
There's 3 PC games, and only one of them I've heard of. There's Neoverse, which I haven't heard of. I'm looking at the cover now, and it's just... I don't know what it's about. I can't tell by the cover.
You should never judge a game by its cover, Shaun.
Well, based by the characters that are on the cover, I would guess it's like a JRPG sort of game, but then it also looks very actiony.
Deck building game.
And it was neither of those two, so there you go. That's all you need to know about the cover.
What else have we got?
What Remains of Edith Finch, which is a game I was looking into a couple years ago because they used I can never pronounce this word. Photogrammetry.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like scanning in real life environments and that. That was back when we were doing Curiosity. That was the game that made me try it, where we stuck all the dots on each other and scanned ourselves into the game.
What's the last game?
I must admit, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh my god.
Because it's either Yik or it's Y2K.
What?
But with the two in Roman numerals.
Right, what's the game called? Yik.
I'm scrolling down now. I think it's actually Yik.
Yeah, it is Yik. It's a postmodern RPG. So we've got a few hits and a few misses there.
I'm sorry, I was just reading the description for it. It says, college graduate Alex witnessing a woman vanish from an elevator. What? I'm intrigued now. How do you vanish from an elevator?
Well, I guess if we play the game, we'll find out, Shaun.
Yeah, we've got to wait till January 14th.
So they're the Game Pass games that are coming to the Xbox in the next minus couple of days, because by the time I've edited the podcast, they'll probably all be released by then. So that's good.
Yes.
There we go.
So they can be played now.
They can indeed. Oh, I've also just remembered that there is another game that I played that was on Game Pass that I'll just... Because, you know, we're winding up to the end of the podcast now, and I have wanted to mention this game. It's called Fractured Minds. It took me about 40 minutes to complete it to its entirety and get 1,000 gamer score. But I don't know if I liked it or not. It was a game about mental health, so it's very clearly an important issue. But I just felt like it was a bit too arty, like, if that makes sense. Like, you could tell that they were trying to be very, like, poignant, and it just came off a little bit disingenuous, which I didn't quite like. It was literally the weirdest experience I've had on the Xbox. I would sort of probably recommend it just so that you can understand what I'm talking about, because it literally takes half an hour to complete it. But it's a game that I don't even know if I can call it a game or not. I just sort of experienced it for half an hour and then uninstalled it from my Xbox, because I would never ever have to play it again. It's not, I didn't uninstall it because it was bad. It's just I would never ever have to play it ever again.
So was there are no like mechanics or anything to it?
No, you just walked and clicked on things. It was bizarre.
Like a point and click.
Sort of, kind of. I don't know. What a shit review this is. What was the game
I don't
about?
think they'll be using this in their game store page.
Yeah, this will be on the cover. Fractured Minds. What's it about? Fuck knows, mate. No idea.
I clicked some stuff. I don't know.
I think it's a game. Maybe.
I played for 30 minutes and uninstalled it.
But I completed it. I actually
all that
completed a
matters.
game. It's the first game I've completed for a long time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because it was half an hour long.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still proud of myself. It's the first game I ever got 1,000 gamer points in. I've never 1,000 pointed a game before, so that's my first.
I don't know if I ever have.
I don't care about achievements.
No, I don't either, but I can't think if I've
I mean,
ever
Duncan,
got
you were saying that you
1,000
used to
in
do bloody lasso on Halo 1, 2 and 3. You must have 1,000 pointed those.
No, I never did Halo. I've only ever 100% completed 3 games. That's Battlefield 1943, Far Cry 3, and not Bastion? Yeah, Bastion. Only 3 I've ever properly 100%ed. And I just...
Absolutely love Bastion.
Brilliant. Just can't be asked, really. Because by the time you're at that point where I've got to start the game again, New Game Plus or whatever, to do something else, I'm done with it. The second I hit the credits roll on the game, I'm done. See you later. Move on.
It's like a lot of people are getting that at the moment with Cyberpunk. They're getting to the point of no return message a lot fucking earlier than they thought they were going to be.
And then complaining the game's finished really early.
It's bizarre because I'm getting 2 different stories from Cyberpunk. I'm getting some people that are 30 hours in and they've completed it, and I'm getting some people that are 160 hours in and are still going. And I don't get how you can get that disparity. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's because they left it running.
Yeah. Fucking idiots. Who would do that?
They're only level 6.
Have you played any other games this week, Shaun?
I have been playing Valhalla still. Still not at the end of it.
I saw your exploding boat.
Yeah, that really annoyed me as well because there was no other boat around, and the place I would have to swim to get back to where I was going was miles away.
You know that you can just call a longship.
I don't know if you can in that area I was in.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say anything to like spoil it.
Fair enough.
So I basically just fast travelled to an entirely different area and then went back to there just to get the boat to work.
I've been playing Slay the Spire, and I quite like it. It's good. It's fun. Have you played Slay the Spire at all, either of you?
No.
I've heard the name but not played it.
It's a card game. You have to make your way up a spire by defeating enemies, but you do it with a deck of cards. And at the end of every level, you meet a boss, and you have to beat the boss. And every time you beat someone, you get a new card. It's really fun. It's on Game Pass. It's good to just like blitz for an hour just to play something. I've really enjoyed it. Cracking game.
I'll have to give it a try.
What about yourself, Duncan? Have you been playing anything else this week?
Not too much. I've been quite busy because the first week back at work. Still knocking away at World of Warcraft as normal, and a little bit of Valhalla. But I've played about an hour in about a week of that. So just quite busy this week. Just one of those weeks where I'm not really had a chance to sit down
an odd
and
week.
Play anything. Yeah, just shit news everywhere. Really,
I feel like this week specifically has kicked me in the chest more than any week during this pandemic.
Yeah, I was saying to Georgia because I mean, on the whole, like we haven't been too badly affected, kind of with the pandemic, but our wedding's been cancelled twice now. Just other kind of bits of bad news. I think with this one, rather than kind of being sad about it, I just feel quite bitter about it all because we've been really like sensible. Like we've not done anything all year, and just seeing kind of people just fucking about and doing what they want, it just makes you feel quite just not angry, just really bitter,
just disappointed.
Yeah. It's like my neighbours.
Genuinely, it's just disappointment at everybody else. I think is the main feeling I've got.
Yeah, I'm just so like apathetic about it all now. Because we're not going to do anything. We're just going to stay at home until it's safe. But yeah, I just this particular lockdown just fucking had enough. Initially, it was all right because it was summer and I could sit in the garden and working from home was a novelty. Now it's permanent and just fucking had enough of it now. Really?
I mean, for me, it's been extremely tough, especially with Shannon because she works in a care home, so she's right on the front lines, and we've got a small child that none of my friends really have met. I mean, Shaun, you've seen him twice, and that was very briefly. other than Shaun is the only person in any of my friends group that has seen Theo. You know, he's 15 months old nearly now. He's becoming this like little human in front of us, and he doesn't know anybody. He's not met other children. He's not met any of my extended family. He's not been able to, you know, go out and do things that normally families would do with their
and
babies.
he's of that age,
we've had to just
where like cognitive development kind of happens quite rapidly around that age as well. So
the last 2 weeks, he's gone from sort of standing himself up to falling over to me having to chase him so that he doesn't run into the kitchen now. He's changed into this real human in front of me, and I want to share that with my friends and family, and I know I can't, and we're not going to risk it. Shannon's got family that have to stay at home. They are in the critical section of society where we can't possibly risk that transmission. We you know, I'm working on the front lines. I say, you know, I work customer facing, and I meet a lot of customers every day, and the customers that I do meet, you know, I don't know how many people they've seen. I don't know how many sites they've been on, or how many people have been at their jobs, or what customers they're interacting with. I can't vet every person that I meet. So we've just lost all our childcare. We can't have childcare now. So we're now having to make the decision of, does Shannon now work every weekend 12-hour shifts, or does she go on to night shifts, or potentially she has to go unpaid, or I might have to try and work from home if I'm allowed, or if I can do. It's just a fucking nightmare. And I think that's why I wanted to start this podcast is, you know, I've got back in contact with yourself, and I've got back in contact with Tom, who I didn't talk to Tom for nearly 20 years. And with the, you know, with the Torbay Gaming Network that was there, you know, there was like a sense of community and people that you could talk to that I genuinely haven't felt for maybe a year now. I wish more than anything that life was back to normal, but it's not. And I don't think it will be for a long time. And yeah, it's just, I think it helps having this podcast to just, even for like a couple of hours a week, pretend that maybe things normal, you know,
yeah.
Maybe everything is okay for a few hours a week.
I mean, the thing that I really like about it, so I'm quite open about it, but quite a lot recently, I've really felt kind of mentally I've been slipping a little bit. So I've suffered quite badly from depression before. But I think 2013 I was very low. But I've kind of felt like on the cusp of it quite a lot. But then when you invited me to the podcast, I was like, a bit nervous about it because I haven't really spoken to anyone for a year. And then it is just a nice thing just to kind of have a chat with your mates. And it's a definite pick me up. So I hope kind of people listening as well have that outlet, that if they do feel like they are struggling a little bit, just have a chat to someone. It's really not a big deal.
Even just message our Facebook page. Like, you know, there's 3 of us that have the logins to it. There's always going to be somebody online, even if it is just a case of, you know, just saying, you know, I listened to your latest podcast, just, you know, thank you. Or, you know, if you ever want to talk about, you know, the latest game that you're playing, just leave us a comment or send us a message, because I think now more than ever people are understanding really the importance of just like taking care of yourself. And, you know, anyone that does take the time and the effort to go out and to actually do something about it, mate, fair play to you, because there's plenty of people out there that don't have the strength at the moment to do that. So, you know, I think one of the things that got me was that last week after we did the recording, you said that, you know, after like 15 minutes you forgot that we were even doing a podcast. It does just become like a social thing, and for the last year no one's really been able to have any sort of social aspect to their lives. So, you know, without getting too soppy, I think it's helping me massively, and I hope it's helping everyone else listening as well.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, if anyone is struggling with stuff, just talk about it. Even if it's just like your mate, your mum or whatever, the best thing you can do is just talk about it. Because keeping it in just doesn't help.
And even if it's not specifically talking about it in its terms, even if it's just talking to somebody, so just saying hello to someone that you haven't spoken to in a while, just talking to somebody is better than talking to nobody, even if it's not specifically about what you're struggling about or what it is that you have your anxieties about. I think hopefully, we can all come out of this maybe a little bit stronger.
For sure.
And I think that might be a good place to leave it for this week. I think it's a nice way to end things. So again, from everybody here at Gamers Watch, thank you for listening. If you are still listening, that is. Shaun, thank you for being on again. It's a pleasure to have you.
No worries, pleasure to be here always.
Duncan, we'll hear about your wanking story, I'm sure, next week.
That is, in my opinion, the worst one in terms of how I come out of it.
Right.
So the best one for us.
Yeah.
So maybe we save that one till last.
Yeah, I mean, Gig Piss Bog Roll is just a funny little story. But Pass That Wanking is something that does stay with me and has stayed with me for nearly about 20 years now.
So we will save that one for another time.
Yeah.
Look forward to it. Well, guys, it's been great. We will talk again soon. And again, you can find us on Facebook at Gamers Watch Podcast, on Instagram at Gamers Watch Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at Gamers Watch Cast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.